Hey guys, hey lambs, welcome back to the Hey Lamb podcast. I'm your host Matt, aka Treacle. Thank you so much for joining me once again. You know what it is our weekly hour where we get to geek out about all things Mariah. Thank you to everyone who is supporting the podcast over on Instagram. Get involved at Hey Lamb Podcast, and I'm also on Instagram at TreacleTots. And thank you so much to everyone who is buying me a splash over on buymeacoffee.com/HeyLamb. Really do enjoy and appreciate you so much. And special shout out to my YouTube channel members. You guys are awesome. You get the after show of the podcast each and every week and some advanced previews of some of my other content as well. Today, I'm so excited to bring yet another new guest to the podcast and to my YouTube channel. Welcome, Luke Anderson. Hey, Luke, how are you doing?
I'm so excited to be here.
We finally made it happen. Thank you so much for joining me and welcome to the Hey Lamb podcast. You're here to geek out with me about Mariah.
Which is my favorite thing to do of all time.
You are busy.
Most of my friends don't appreciate. They literally think I'm crazy, and so when I get to talk with a lamb, it's like an angel gets its wings.
I love that. We all need it. We all need our little safe space. We all need our therapy. I've got lots of friends I can talk to Mariah about, and some of them can actually go in to a fairly respectable level, but it's the lamb to lamb connections where you really get to deep dive. So this is going to be fun. I know you're super busy, and I thank you so much for joining me. Let's just tell everyone a little bit about yourself and where you're based, first of all, because you're another new friend of mine across the pond.
Yeah, so I am in Venice, California, Los Angeles, right by the beach. For Lana Del Rey fans, and there's a little overlap between Mariah and Lana Del Rey. Not much, but that's basically where she writes a lot of her music about. And I run a microdose THC-infused beverage company. So for people who are trying to drink less alcohol and also try cannabis for the first time, it's a great product that helps you still be social with a little buzz, but not be hungover the next day. And it's called Can, by the way. Yeah,
it's
CAN.
Called Can, and your Instagram, everything about the brand, but the Instagram account, it pops, it's fun, it's colorful. You've got some really great ambassadors. I see some of my favorite drag queens getting up in your Instagram grids and everything, and it seems like things are doing really well. It's really being popular, right?
Yeah, it's popular online, but because cannabis is still federally illegal, we can only sell it in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Illinois, Nevada, California. So there's just a little bit of a federal illegality thing that holds us from growing fast.
Yeah, sure. Which is not just the smallest thing, but I'm sure you've got a very detailed business plan on how you want things to grow. But yeah, I guess you need some kind of laws to change and some legal situations, kind of putting some obstacles in the road and stuff. But I had actually heard of that. Of Can before. I'd seen. What's the Instagram? Is it Drink Can with 2 N's? Mm-hmm. Someone had sent me something. I'm thinking it must have been one of my Drag Race friends, because as soon as I went on the Instagram account and I saw all the brand, I was like, I've been here before. I've been on this page before.
The only thing I love almost as much as Mariah is RuPaul's Drag Race, and we did a cool Pride campaign with Simone and Gigi Good, and they dressed up like the Fanta girls for our flavors. So we've got a bunch of drag fans now in the mix.
Amazing. Super fun. Yeah, I mean, I brought it up a few times on the podcast with different guests. Drag Race and Mariah, and I'm waiting for that real sweet spot where there's a really nice overlap, because we haven't had an actual Mariah moment on Drag Race yet. There was that ill-fated Diva Worship Challenge, season 11, and no, just no.
Yeah, that's so bad and disrespectful, might I add.
Yes.
Sparkle. What are you talking about?
Oh my God. And then they name Emotions as a song, and they start singing So Emotional by Whitney, and no one in the group clocks it or corrects anyone. I was angry, I was embarrassed, I was pained.
Yeah. Actually, what's funny is I watched the first 10 minutes of All Stars 6 episode 7 last night, and they actually made a Make It Happen reference and mentioned Mariah by name. So who knows?
Any little nod that Mariah gets on the show, I'm very, very happy. And I got my hopes up with that Diva Worship episode. But maybe in the future. But yeah, I'm loving All Star 6. I love everything that it was. I'm rewatching UK season 2 right now, because I've only watched it the once, and it's been enough time. And they just teased us that season 3 is coming out in the autumn, so I'm just trying to fit it. I love rewatching it. It's just so funny. It's not. It's I like material that makes me laugh over and over again, and
That's
Drag
it.
Race gives us that so much. But we are here today to talk about Mariah, specifically Emancipation. We're going to go in on the Emancipation era. So you and I were kicking ideas around, and we landed on Emancipation era because I do want to spend some episodes talking about different albums and different eras specifically. But when Emancipation came up, that seemed to really like hit like a nerve with you, in a good way. You seem so in love and excited by the Emancipation era. So let's just kick off with, what was your like experience with the Emancipation era? Like, where were you in your life? Where were you when the songs were coming out? What did they mean to you?
Well, it's been the gift that keeps on giving. I have been a Mariah fan since her number one's album. I was like a little closeted queer boy on a bus, and I had it in my Discman, and I would just like obsess over playing it on loop because 17 or 18 songs at that point. Actually, there may have only been 14 or 15, but there were a couple of bonus tracks that were great. And fell in love with her voice, fell in love with the high belt, and was obviously into the whistle, but never really loved the periods of her career where she was afraid to belt or wasn't able to or didn't rely on it because I just missed that energy. And I felt like Emancipation was the moment where she brought that back in full force and reminded everybody of the power of her voice. And it was at a time when she had gone through a number of things in her career that were not as commercially successful. And to do it after being told basically that you were not as good as you were previously, I think is just a very powerful psychological moment. And so, even though I was a senior in high school at the time, and I would kind of bop around at senior prom to Don't Forget About Us, it wasn't really until I came out at age 25 that I rediscovered the album and listened to it as a way to give me strength and feel like I could, even though I was changing my life and I was afraid that people would judge me for being queer, I still had that powerful belting voice telling me that I could, figure it out again. And I think queer people flock to Mariah for a reason. There's so much inspiration and there's so much hope in everything that she says and does, and the way that she rises time after time when people other her. It's something that I think queer people identify with, and the Emancipation of Mimi was the pinnacle of that rise after challenging period. And I just feel like it's a testament to the power of positive thinking and that you can't write off talent, as she said a number of times, which is something I think we can all learn from.
Absolutely. No wonder it's such a precious album to you then, if it's tied in with your coming out. Yeah, I totally get that. Totally get that. For me, I have similar feelings towards the Rainbow album, because that was me closeted and wrestling with things and like the final years of school, and so I totally feel you with that. My experience of Emancipation was I'm with friends, new friends, lamb friends, and I'm out and I'm living as my authentic self. And it really was like a celebration. And I had gone through the glitter and the charm bracelet eras with Mariah. My entry into the Lamely was glitter. I always say I had a rough initiation because it was really hard being out on the streets defending Mariah, because there was a lot of people marching against you. You really were going against the tide. So, but I met Mariah for the first times during Glitter and Charm Bracelet. So by the time the Emancipation era came around, it was just so wonderful to feel that triumphant surge of energy. Like, it was just like tangible. She was so happy. She was so excited. And every time she would come over to London to promote, there was just a different aura, a different energy. It was just incredible to be around. So my experience was yes, at last, like we fought 4 long years battling against naysayers and, idiots in the press and stuff. And there was just no denying how big the Emancipation era was. It was just a runaway train. What are some of your favorite songs from the album then? We're gonna play a little game based around this later on towards the end of the show. But when you think Emancipation, what are the first songs you're going for? What ones that mean the most to you?
It's Like That is the party record. It is a personification of the album, and I hear it when I'm out and I am on the floor throwing my hands in the air and just mouthing every word. Um, but obviously, We Belong Together is so emotional and so powerful because it was the song of the decade. It was such an undeniable commercial and critical success, and she made so many amazing performances of it during those couple of years, um, and it transcended beyond the Mariah fan base. Some people just only know We Belong Together,
Mm.
and I think that speaks to the power of the climax and how memorable it is. But the second tier, or I mean, that's not the right way to call it. The songs that didn't get as much airplay, the deeper cuts and the stories behind them are what really keep me coming back to it. I think Mine Again is it was nominated for a Grammy for a reason. I know how we feel about the Grammys, but the fact that it was nominated when she was up against everything she was up against, it shows how the musicality of that song and the impressiveness of her recording of it are really top notch. And then a sneaky favorite is actually Stay the Night.
Mm.
I think Stay the Night was produced by Kanye West. And I've read in the depths of the internet that they had been wanting to work together for a really long time and, have always kind of admired one another for their musical genius. And it's so clearly Kanye's production and her lyrics and voice, and the collaboration is something quite special. I love showing it to Kanye fans and who kind of disrespect Mariah as a way to shoot that down pretty quick, and it works.
I remember back in the day because I was anticipating Emancipation. Like we were listening to rumors and articles. At one point, I remember the song title "Stay the Night" being presented or reported as a potential lead single. And now we look back, we're like, it didn't get a single release. But I think when she was partway through the project, I think there was talk of it possibly being released as a single. Do you think that would have been a smart choice?
No, because what happened, if my Mariah history is correct, is they recorded a couple of extra songs after that decision was made when inspiration struck. And I know We Belong Together was one of those songs. And I think It's Like That was another one. And so if they had said Signed, Sealed, Delivered, Stay the Night, lead single, we may have had an album without It's Like That and without We Belong Together.
Yeah.
And sometimes Mariah gets pushed around by her label to rush to finish something. And this is a moment where she asserted that she was in creative control and she wanted to work with Jermaine Dupri on a couple more things. And look at what happened.
Yeah, yeah. I made there's a video on my YouTube channel, like the story behind We Belong Together, and I want to do more of those videos where let's like remind myself of what were the rumors at the time and what was the process of the album, and I was reminding myself that yeah, Stay the Night was on the table. I think they were even really like trying to give Say Something a nudge, but she wasn't like super comfortable with that. That was the impression I got because it was just a little bit too outside of like her regular like what's the norm. Like she always credited the Neptunes and everything, but it was like yeah, it's just different. But then L.A. Reid was like. They thought the album was done, and she was kind of like think it was done, and then L.A. Reid is like, well, have you hooked up with Jermaine this time? And she said, no, actually, I haven't. But I think he's busy. So she took the nudge, and then I mean, it's Jermaine. Like it's not like forcing her to go and work with someone else. It's more like why don't you take some time or take like a weekend, and like you say, yeah, We Belong Together, and I'm pretty sure it is We Belong Together, and it's like that because before that time, I think, or hang on, no, she went for one session. and then Shake It Off happened, and then she was like, "Oh my God, this has to be the lead single. It has to be the lead single." And they're like, "Go back, do more, scratch, dig deeper." And then we've got the 1-2 punch with It's Like That and We Belong Together. But it's like we almost had an album without the Jermaine Dupri moments. Which, when you look back,
Yeah.
it's crazy because Shake It Off, Get Your Number, I think they were the first ones. And then the second session, maybe, was It's Like That, We Belong Together. And, I mean, history would be different if they
Literally.
if they didn't have those sessions. It would be so, so different. Do you have any songs that, you're tempted to kind of press skip? Or just like you don't listen to quite so much? Or you just love the album too damn much?
Man, skipping any Mariah song to me is like sacrilege. But if I were to say that one was my least favorite, I think it's Get Your Number. Um, it for some reason I think the rap verses it takes me out of the party and it puts me in a place of like I'm really disoriented at the end of the night, and that can go either way. So it's more of the the harshness of some of it. I think takes me to a party I don't want to go to necessarily. But people love it.
I get what you mean because it's not one of my top ones. I think my skip would probably be To the Floor. That
Oh,
one
that
I
one.
just
Yeah.
I struggled to get into a groove with that one. So yeah, I've got Shake It Off, I've got It's Like That, I've got One and Only. There's like I don't know. To the Floor, I just struggled with it a little bit. Get Your Number. The video really helped. That video, I love the colors. Her in that yellow dress with the neon
Mhm.
lights, so so good. I love the visuals from this album so much. Absolutely iconic. Do you remember when you first saw the artwork? Do you remember people saying that she looked like Beyonce on the original on the cover?
I do remember when I first saw the artwork. I do not remember the Beyonce comparisons, but that's really interesting. I actually am trying to get a tattoo on my wrist right here
Uh
of
huh.
the silhouette on the album cover. So
Oh
I'm
wow.
texting with a couple of tattoo artists trying to find the one that I think will really do it justice. They obviously
Yes.
have to be a lamb, otherwise it's going to be a I don't know. We can't have that not turn out right. Um, and also, I had a custom made black tank top that I cropped for Coachella, which has the album cover on the front, but just her. And I would just stand by the pool at the music festival and like do the thing with my arms, and that would be a meta kind of experience. So I think it's one of the more beautiful and stunning photographs
Yeah.
that's taken.
I love it. I love it so much. I remember like something leaked, whatever, or got posted online just as I was going into work, and I had a quick look on like my crappy phone back in 2005, and I was like, "Oh, that's not Mariah." It just looked like it's such like a different thing. It wasn't like great quality. And then I come out of work, and I've been tagged and to hell and read to filth. Like, no, it is Mariah. Like a better quality image came out, but it was just the it was just facially there were comparisons to Beyonce, and a lamb told Mariah she had some kind of fan interaction, and legend has it that a female lamb said, "Oh, we love the cover, Mariah, but you kind of look like Beyonce. Like we didn't know if it was you," and that kind of threw Mariah like really, and that worried her. So then she wanted to switch to what became the vinyl cover, which is the much more zoomed in one where it's like bosom up and it's a slightly different photo but from the same shoot. Ultimately, we got various covers with different releases and things, but yeah, rumor has it that, or legend has it that a lamb said to Mariah, "I love it," but we weren't sure if it was you for a minute. We had to kind of like take a beat and work out if it was a fake or a leaked image.
But that's almost cool about it, and I think why it was so successful is it allowed Mariah to reintroduce herself as Mimi. It allowed her to reintroduce herself as someone who has fun, someone who likes to party and creates good energy. And it after people in the general public were cooling off post glitter and weren't really catching on with Charm Bracelet, it was such a departure aesthetically that I think it served her well commercially.
Yeah, it was like a just let's wipe the slate clean. You said it was a reintroduction. She's trying to pick her way out of glitter, charm bracelet. She's got similar artwork to what she's had before. It's still a presentation of Mariah Carey as we know and love her. And then Mimi was like, let's just change lane. Let's just do something different. And I love that so much. We need to take a very quick break, but when we're back, we're going to just keep diving. We're going to keep going in and in on Emancipation Era. We'll be right back after this.
Hi, we're the co-founders of Can. It has come to our attention that some of you are still ingesting trash ingredients. Why? Literally why?
Can has only 5 clean ingredients that you know how to pronounce, and you don't have to Google.
To show you how clean Can is, we're going to make one in front of you right now.
First ingredient, water. Very easy to understand.
Next comes lemon juice, organic from Sicily. We're basically on a first-name basis with the farmers.
Third, we've got Swiss lavender. Nothing artificial, straight from the plant.
Next comes the agave nectar, organic from Mexico. Processed sugar should not be a part of your diet.
And last but not least, a little bit of cannabis.
No, that's way too much.
Like this?
Even less. Even less.
Duh, it's a microdose.
Perfect. It's just enough so you can feel a little good.
Voila.
The clean ingredients and the fact that there's no alcohol means you'll never get a hangover with Can.
And that's why you can have 1 or 5 and still feel pretty good the next day.
Cheers.
Cheers.
And we are back. Before we move on to talk about like the impact and everything, I just want to spend just one quick more minute on the album. Also about the music videos. We spoke briefly about the artwork, but for me, when I think of the visuals with the album, I am obsessing over the music videos. We had so many. We've got It's Like That, We Belong Together, Shake It Off, Get Your Number, Say Something, Don't Forget About Us. There's just so many. What do you think of the music videos? Do you have a favorite?
I watch It's Like That over and over and over again. I think that the sexiness and the confidence is so palpable from the minute that she walks down that staircase into the party. It was the perfect first single and way to be reintroduced to her, because that was what this was about. It was about being confident and owning yourself and owning your body and kind of shedding the like many years of her career where she was forced to wear a turtleneck and it's not easy in a culture that glamorizes 22-year-old women in skimpy outfits to latch onto that in somebody in their mid 30s. And I hear over and over again from women in entertainment this like, oh my God, like enough with this like obsession with younger women. And for Mariah to get out there and be the sexiest woman on the planet at that moment was really special. And I think that, the conversation shifted from people who were less initiated to her work to being like, oh, wow, like, who's that? Like, she's really sexy. And then because of that, became fans or became like familiar with her, and it spawned a whole new group of people that discovered her through the Emancipation era. The number of people I speak to today who say like, oh yeah, like Mariah Carey, like, it's just We Belong Together, like that's it. And I'm like, whoa, like no, that was because you were a certain age when that was the hottest song on the planet. But I think it was that sort of confidence and sex appeal that that was really inspiring of that new generation of people, and it was cool. It showed versatility, and we could all take a lesson from that.
A big part of the sexiness was the confidence and the fact she was just having fun, and everything felt authentic. And there were some great concepts with the videos, but it was nothing like too far out of her wheelhouse. Like it was just Mariah being Mariah and everything, but it was just. I don't know, you had like the glam shots, the beauty shots, and thinking like the close-ups and Don't Forget About Us, but she gets to play with a couple of, Marilyn references, and Marilyn Monroe means so much to her. Get Your Number was just sleek and sexy. Shake It Off, she's having so much fun, and there's all the like little references and in-jokes for the lambs and everything, but she just comes across as a confident, sexy woman. It's not too like in your face. I think she was still glamorous and sexy yet accessible, so people can look at her and not have to, obsess too much about, oh, I'm looking at someone in their mid-30s. The age is kind of irrelevant, but she's clearly not a 21, 22-year-old, and she's not throwing it at you. She's not, forcing it down your throat. But there were some beautiful looks across the whole era, and I just think it was Mariah. It was sexy, confident, yet age appropriate. It was kind of accessible because people could come into the era and not be put off by, oh my God, what is she wearing? Oh my God, why is she trying to look like that? There was none of that. It just felt very, very authentic and right. I love the way that she was styled in live performances, TV interviews, everything. Some of my favorite looks come from that era.
The hair and everything, I think, was really well done. And sometimes it was pin straight, it's like that with the ponytail. And in some of the live performances, you saw more of an old world Marilyn Monroe inspired kind of shaped curls. But my second favorite music video is actually "Don't Forget About Us," because she comes across in a whole different type of sexy. Like it's very much a song about like, I'm the best that you've ever had, and like when you're with another person, or when you're thinking sexual thoughts, like you cannot forget about me and the times we had. And it was very overt, and the playing in the pool and by the fire, and yet still confident and still super hyper relevant, even though it was an afterthought almost, and something that was recorded, I imagine, much later than the others.
Yeah, because it was on the ultra platinum edition, like the re-release, and I always wondered. I never actually have I ever searched. I don't know exactly when that song was written, and I even forget how long after the original album the re-release was. But yeah, I don't know if it was just like a rush thing. I need to remind myself. Anyone listening, like let me know when was "Don't Forget About Us" written. So where were you with Mariah before Emancipation? Like, what was your kind of awareness or engagement with her music in terms of? Because I want to just hit upon like Glitter and Charm Bracelet and what that did for everyone. But what did that do for you? What was Mariah really on your radar in terms of? Was she on any of your playlists or anything before?
I didn't become a lamb until after the Emancipation era, or maybe I started becoming a lamb in the middle of the Emancipation era. I was always really into her music. I had Can't Let Go on a bunch of playlists, obviously Emotions, and just being fixated on the impressiveness of the whistles in both. And I think I kind of started petering out around Glitter. And it's not that I don't think Glitter was an amazing album. I just wasn't deep enough in Mariah to have been engaged with it at the time. I mean, like September 11th, the world was kind of all over the place. It wasn't a time where that was what people wanted to focus on. And she mentions that when she looks back at that. But I still had Loverboy's remix like on a playlist, and I don't even think I knew it was her. Really, I didn't think that registered. It was just like okay, I'm kind of not as well versed in pop culture, but like this is a cool song because I hear it on the radio all the time. It was one of the most played songs on the radio of that year. But because I started petering out, I didn't actually experience Charm Bracelet until a few years ago, and I think it was E = MC squared that deepened my excitement about her, and the I think obsessed music video and the choices in there that made me fall more in love with her as an artist and as a person. And I waited 5 years for my Amtech to come out, and I'm still like playing that record. But obviously, when she was focusing on her family, I was hungry for music, and I was just constantly anticipating what was coming next. But really, it was the Emancipation era that started it all. And since then, I have considered myself a bit of a Mariah historian. I read her Wikipedia page start to finish, and then dig into obscure YouTube videos and follow interesting, very sharp Mariah history meme accounts, and it's been so much fun because the more you learn, the more you fall in love.
Absolutely, yeah. I love deep diving. I love even still learning a new nugget of information or learning something from somebody who was a fan, a lamb, when I yet wasn't. I love swapping stories and stuff. That's why I loved so much about the rarities last year, because she's sharing things from her vault. Like Out Here on My Own completely blew my mind because it's such a beautiful vocal. It's like rainbow glitter era. But the fact that there were no rumors, as I remember, there were no rumors. Nobody had any idea, no freaking clue that she had recorded that song, and she just sat on it for 20 years. And then she's got more. There's more in the tank. She could do this again. We could have the Rarities Volume 2. I really hope so, because there are some songs we know about that she hasn't released, and there's going to be more moments like Out Here on My Own. So yeah, I'm always loving when I get surprised by something, because the deeper you dive and the longer you're at that like really intense level, you kind of feel like, I know everything, but you're like, you don't get surprised as often because you kind of, like, say, count yourself as a Mariah historian. So then it's nice to learn like a new nugget or something, because yeah, they become few and far between. I do remember a lot of lambs at the time being a little bit divided with Charm Bracelet, because it was, are we trying to go straight back to rainbow, like forget glitter, because that was a whole thing, that was a whole mood with the 80s and everything. But with Charm Bracelet, are we just trying to oh, whoops, let's go back a step, because we've got some mid-tempos, we've got a cover song, we've got the ballads and everything, we've got a personal song at the end, Sunflowers for Alfred Roy, kind of sits at the same table as Petals on Rainbow. So it kind of felt a little bit like that. But more than anything, I do remember a lot of people, lambs and press, really commented on her vocals, and there was a lot of breathy tones and whisper. And for me, some songs, I don't know, I love Charm Bracelet so much, but at the time, I didn't need to listen to Boy I Need You all the way through. I didn't really need to listen to You Got Me every time I listened to the album. There were a few songs there where maybe a bit repetitive and it's like very, very breathy. And I feel like, I think she even acknowledged it. Like you said earlier, she came back and hit hard with the Emancipation vocals. And I think part of it was because of some of the feedback. People were saying she can't do it anymore. She can't belt. And I feel like songs like Stay the Night, going into like such a high key, Mine Again, I think that's her. She doesn't need to say anything. She just puts that song on the album and it just shuts everyone up.
And that was, I think, I mentioned earlier that I was not obsessed with the melismatic, the more breathy, Through the Rain. Even though it's a very emotional and beautiful song, there is something about her belting that you can't find anywhere else in this world. And when she leans into it, it's extraordinary. And I don't know exactly what happened when L.A. Reid and she just had a conversation about getting the Emancipation record together. And I wish I could have been in that room, because I imagine that he looked her in the eye and said something like, listen, like, you still got it. You just got to return to what made people fall in love with you. And you need to get a live band together, and you need to just take after take. Like, let's not overproduce it. Let's have a little bit of rasp. Let's, like it in Mine Again, at the climax of it, her voice is, borderline in a, it's not that it cracks, but it has imperfections that show you that she is doing this live, and that she is as powerful vocally as she ever was. And that was, I think L.A. Reid deserves a ton of credit for just seeing the talent and reminding her that if you just kind of rest your voice, take care of yourself, you can knock it out of the park every time. And she's kind of doing that again right now. Like the stuff that she recorded on Instagram during quarantine, like in the original key and hitting every note, it's impressive. But that really was, I think an L.A. Reid influenced moment, and why I love Emancipation so much.
I completely agree. I would love to be in the room for some of those conversations. I'm sure she was given like, creative freedom, of course, it's Mariah, but I think she really needs someone to like put their hand on her shoulder and say, we've got you, we believe in you, go and do your thing, we support you. And the vocals were a big part of that. I think maybe she mentioned it one time in an interview. I can't remember. Anyone listening or watching, please do get in touch and help me out if you can remember. But I do feel like there was at least one interview where she kind of said, like, the charm bracelet vocals, like, that's a choice. It's boring to belt all the time. Some people say you belt too much. Other people say you use the wispy part of your voice too much. I like to use variety. It's boring to belt all the time. There is one interview, and I feel like it's a TV, not a radio interview, because I can almost kind of picture her saying it. So I think she was aware. I think she was paying attention. I'm sure L.A. Reid and people were like, just go and fucking do it. Just go and belt. Like, you just give us a few of those songs, because I think actually it wasn't pitched as the whole album. It was the return of the voice. We got you picture the artwork for the single. It's like that. It's not even a photo of her. It's a silhouette with like the yellow and orange stripes. And I remember we had some promo, which was the whole thing was billed as this is the return of the voice. And I'm like, well, I hope so. But they were like, oh no, we know. They knew because they had songs like Stay the Night and Fly Like a Bird and everything. Mine Again in the Tank. Like, there was no denying her vocals.
We didn't even talk about Fly Like a Bird. That is one of my favorite songs on the album. And the live performance at the Grammys of We Belong Together into Fly Like a Bird, and how just like, she obviously is a very spiritual person, and she references God. And as somebody who's not religious at all, and is generally, I think, not attracted to that type of, it's not something that I would be motivated to listen to somebody knowing that it's a faith-based music thing. I still felt like the power of what she felt when she recorded that and wrote it. And, like you said, she needs somebody to say, hey, we got you. And in moments where she doesn't have a physical person saying that, she relies on God. And I think that is where that self-confidence has to come from at the end of the day, is from within.
Yeah, you gotta have your own back. You gotta believe in yourself, and I think at times in Mariah's career, she has struggled, or her career struggled, because of like not having the right circle around her. Like, I'm so much happier with the circle around her right now compared to the whole Mariah's World era. I am going to do like a mini series part on my channel or something about it, because it's such like a big topic, and I do want to go in. There are things that I like and love, and there's quite a few things I don't love about it, but I do need to get a group of lambs together and kind of go in on Mariah's World. It was my favorite era, and she's commented a few times about not having the right people around her, but it's always, a few years when she's, down the line or whatever, but she's always believed in herself. But you can only maybe, like, to have an album like Emancipation, maybe so many things have to go into it. It's not just, oh, Mariah wrote some good songs and gave some great vocal performances. She did all that and so much more, but you've got to have the right team. You've got to have that. It's like a whole launching an album like that. It's like launching a new company or something. Like, there's so much work that goes into it. There's so many moving parts, and you do need that key person like L.A. Reid, who kind of brings that workforce, because she can't do everything. She's one person. She can't be behind the camera and, scheduling the appointments and everything. She's got her bits to do, which is a crazy amount, but she needs the whole team. It takes a village. It takes a whole village, people.
And she really does everything, like, except for, the things that she doesn't have time to do. And she, the many times that I defend her with my friends, and the many times they are surprised to hear that she wrote any of her songs. That just illustrates, I think, the knowledge gap that she's up against when trying to get her art out there.
Yeah, she's so much more involved than any other of your favorites, guys. Mariah does it all, and I just wish everyone gave her the flowers. It's time for another quick break. We'll be right back with even more love for Emancipation right after this.
Thanks for listening to Hey Lamb, guys. I hope you are enjoying it. If you are, you can leave me a little tip. You can buy me a drink over on buymeacoffee.com. It is a great way to show your support to your favorite creators by buying them a drink. Simply head over to buymeacoffee.com/heylamb and you can tip me with a little drink. Cheers.
Okay, we need to talk very briefly about, well, as briefly as we can, but like the impact of the album, like pop culture and, you know, turning the tide and awards. Let's start there, awards. The Grammys, the Scammies. What are your thoughts and feelings about 2006 Grammys?
Oh my God. Just obviously, the when you're somebody who was in a highly public relationship with somebody who was very powerful in the music industry, and you asserted your independence in artistic and in very direct written and spoken ways publicly, it is extremely difficult to receive an industry accolade of any type. And I believe that her leaving with as many Grammys as she did and leaving with as many nominations as she did was a testament to the fact that this was the album of the year, that We Belong Together was the record of the year. And it's just too high a hill to climb when you have too many people whose wells have been poisoned that are casting votes. And she is very difficult to work with because she does so much. And I think a lot of her collaborators, you know, diva behavior, showing up not perfectly on time, and, you know, having a lot of creative opinions. A lot of these people are used to working with people that they are packaging up and moving around and parading in a way that they say the person should be performing. And I think it's very hard to be a writer, producer, performer, slash sex symbol, like all at once. And that's what she was during that year. And I think it was actually a really amazing night for her that she was asked to perform in such a prominent position and a medley of 2 songs and with the gospel band. I think was just a subtle tip of the cap that, like, you know, you're back and we respect you. But obviously I'm bitter, and I think that her bitterness and how she's expressed herself about that since then made it, I think, difficult for an album as musically excellent as Caution to receive the critical and award acclaim that it deserved. So it was it was something that I loved at the time, and I still look back on that performance. But, you know, winning other records and being, I think, glamorized and given so much credit in moments like BET Blueprint, those are more special to me. And if you look at the BET Blueprint performances, that right there, that's the biggest award. It's coming and singing Vision of Love in its original key and hitting every single note, undeniably live. It is, you know, doing a We Belong Together performance that you can't even relate to any other We Belong Together performance. And just the you know, the love that was given to her from the R&B community that has always appreciated her musicality, that I think is even more special than just, like, you know, being the most popular person at that moment within an industry community that's very diverse and that has preconceived notions about who you are.
Yeah. Wow, there's so much to unpack. Well, it's like we're creating essays here. I love it. We're doing dissertations on emancipation, but it's so deserving. I too have mixed feelings about the Scammies because she looked beautiful. She got to perform. It meant a lot to her. But I mean, you've already said it, so I don't need to repeat it. Like she's you know, it's an uphill battle. There's only so much, you know, ground you can claim back. But you know, when U2 win Album of the Year and We Belong Together starts playing, I'm like, come on, was this like a last minute like switcheroony? Was there some kind of shenanigans in the 11th hour? because people still raise their eyebrow at that. That was, and then I read online just this year that when that was happening, because was it Beyonce that presented that award, and then that happened, and Beyonce looked to Mariah and mouthed, "I'm sorry." Like, you should have had that. Like, I'm sorry. Like, and I am like, I need to find a clip. Someone's like said that. Apparently, that's like, oh yeah, that's like a known thing. She looked to Mariah and mouthed, "I'm sorry," or just sorry. Maybe it wasn't. Yeah. So still, all these years later, there's still like layers to this. She doesn't owe them anything. The Grammys now. I'm like, whatever. I'm done. I'm done with them. And look what's happening with award ceremonies, like across the board. Really, people really need to be transparent, and who's voting, why are you voting, whose pocket are you in, all this. It's all just, I don't know, it's all shit squiggles. It is. It's all politics, and it sucks. So why should you put all of your eggs in those baskets? Why should you, put so much energy into that? Whereas I wanted to talk about favorite live performances, and you've taken us there, which is amazing. Something like the BET Blueprint. She did things for Charm Bracelet. She did MTV Shining Through the Rain, and then here in the UK we had MTV Presents Mariah Carey. It's pretty much the same thing. It was like a small studio, like 100 lambs, and she did 3 songs. And then we get the Blueprint, which was like up a notch, just in terms of, I think it was more songs as well anyway. But I mean, wow. I mean, can you ever get tired of watching Blueprint? No, because it just is amazing.
And if you haven't watched, in particular, the Vision of Love performance from the Blueprint show, that is my most played YouTube video of all time. Anytime I am ever not feeling good about myself, or I have encountered some sort of obstacle, I go to YouTube, get on my phone, get under the covers, make myself a cup of tea, and I just watch that. And it reminds me that no matter how many people write you off, no matter how many people tell you that you're not good enough for whatever reason, even if I, shut my company down and I had nothing and I was homeless, like, I would play that video and I would wake up and I would find a way to keep going. And I think that it dovetails really nicely with her BBMA awards acceptance speech, which was one of the times that I felt like she was the most vulnerable and open about how much she has felt and how much adversity has impacted her and how important the community of her fans and how important her family is and how important God is to her. Because there have been moments where she has saved all of our lives, and there have also been moments where we have saved hers. And I think that the BET Blueprint performance of Vision of Love and the breakdown in the last 30 seconds and how she can just, take a 30-second time period to just do something totally improvised and then call the drummers back on and belt incredibly and then whistle at the end of it like it was just not even a thing. That's talent that you don't find anywhere else in this world. That is the peak of vocalism, and I just draw so much inspiration from it that it crowds out my ability to consume other content.
I love that. No, it's so good, and she just looks so happy and proud, and like she was just like, yeah, I know I'm the shit at the end of that, and I love that for her. I love it when she's got that kind of look. A performance I want to give a shout out to is It's Like That at VH1 Save the Music with that big like winged sleeved like orange dress. Like just the way she enters and through the doors, and he kind of like just stops and kind of like leans in the door. She's like, yeah, I'm about to get this shit going. And it's a great way to, I think It's Like That is such a good album kickoff track, but it lives and breathes so well on the stage. She did a few performances, I think like on Ellen, and there's a few dancers, and she's kind of like shimmying to the left, then shimmying to the right, and she did that over here on Top of the Pops and stuff like that. But over here, like on the crappy UK shows, like we don't need live performances because you're doing like 3 countries in a day and like whatever. But we got a live performance on Ellen, which was cute. But if I want It's Like That on YouTube, it has to be VH1 because the crowd are just so behind her, and it really is like she's just filling that huge space with this amazing party atmosphere, and I'm here for it so much.
I have to rewatch that. I haven't seen it in ages, but I do remember the outfit. And another one that I think is amazing is the Letterman performance of "We Belong Together," where you know, at that point, performing live on Letterman was the thing. Like, you know, and he announces her not even as if she's making a comeback, but just announces her as if she's been there all along, and that respect and you know, the obvious, uh, just like it was the look, the hair, the dress, the stage, and the background singers. It was so powerful, and it was really well produced. And I think because there were millions of people watching that, that was a moment that inspired a whole new group of people to either be reintroduced to her as the confident woman that she was, or to discover her for the first time.
It's a great platform, and it's interesting, like, outside looking in, because I always perceive Letterman as that kind of like that platform. Like, I know who Oprah is, I watch Oprah, but I don't watch like American late night, you know, TV and stuff. But there's always been that awareness, you know, so I know how seriously she's taken a performance on a platform like that, you know. And I think there was Mariah Carey Uncut was VH1 was following her around. I think that's what it is. I should know it because I'm in it briefly for like 30 seconds. I think it was VH1 or E. It was E, I think. Mariah Carey Uncut. Anyway, she's got cameras following her around, and she's promoting the Emancipation of Mimi. And I swear there's a bit where she's like talking about, or not even talking, because she's got the whole like I'm on vocal rest, and she's holding up cards to deal with her team of people, because she was taking performances like that seriously. And I think it was that one or another one that she came off. She's like, oh, there were a couple of bits, you know, but she's such a perfectionist. Like she's always going to be like that. When I think of live performances, I also think of that one time she did the We Belong Together remix and Shake It Off in the gown going into the pool, which I believe was for the MTV Music Video Awards, because that had production. That was...
Yeah.
She was like rapping that fast part, you know. The fact she's fighting for breath, I'm like, yeah, because that's how we have to do it when we're in the car, in the shower. It's really difficult. So that was totally relatable. I love that, and the production. You remember that one with the swimming pool and everything?
It was expensive. It was rich.
Definitely. We are almost out of time, Luke, sadly, because the hour has just flown by. But I cannot let you go without playing my resident game here on the podcast. So we're going to play Spin, Pin, or Bin. So what we do is I've got Mariah Carey songs pre-programmed into a random generator. So we're going to have 3 songs come at us, and you need to allocate 1 to spin, 1 to pin, and 1 to bin. So it's like fuck, marry, kill. So spin, you have to put 1 song as spin, and that is Love It, Play It Right Now. You have to put 1 in the bin, trash for you, so you never get to play it ever again. Yeah. And then the middle option is pin. You're like, I don't love it, and I'm gonna play it right now, but I can't throw it away. So I'm gonna put a pin in it and save it for another day. So 1 song has to be spin, 1 you have to throw away, it's bin, and then you get to put a pin in 1.
So spin is like fuck, and pin is like marry, but Mary is also like, let's not do this right now. Let's just continue for this forever.
Kind of, yeah. Like spin is play it now, like fuck it now, like fuck it, yeah, I want to do it. What we're gonna do though is we're gonna do Emancipation. I've just got the full Emancipation track list, plus we've got the bonus ones. Okay, so we've got the full album, we've got the deluxe version, so we've got the remix to We Belong Together. I've also got the Desert Storm remix here. Don't Forget About Us. We've got Sprung. We've got Secret Love. I don't know if any of these are going to come up. So I'm going to hit shuffle, and we're going to get 3 songs. Let's see how we get on. Okay, the songs are To the Floor, Stay the Night, and Sprung. bonus track Sprung. I think people kind of snooze on the bonus tracks because there's so many like songs collectively. We've got Secret Love and we've got Sprung. Sprung actually was on the regular version of the album for us here in the UK. We got Sprung.
Wow.
So one song has to be Spin, Love It, Play It Now. One song you have to throw away and you never get to play it ever again. That's Bin. And then you get to pin one, like maybe you'll save it for another day.
I mean, just let me rock you till the morning light. Spin, Stay the Night.
Okay.
Pin, Sprung, because I'm still figuring it out. I actually didn't hear it until earlier this year, believe it or not. The international editions, and I mean, it's sort of like Runway in, Asia. I had to go on Reddit to get an MP3 of that song. And I messaged 20 people and somebody took pity on me. And I know that that's probably not how I should be doing it, but I did not have the access to Sprung to know it well enough. And so I'm going to put it in the pin. And then I think To the Floor, like we discussed earlier, it's one of the only songs that I could think of putting in the bin if I really had to clean my house.
I completely agree with you. For me, actually, I thought that could be quite stressful, Spin, Pin, or Bin with Emancipation, but that's pretty straightforward. Stay the Night is such a summer jam. Well, I love it all year round, but it's such like a drive-in, windows open, top down, whatever. Got to blast it really loud. To the Floor is kind of a potential skip for me anyway, so that is going in the bin. And I'm going to pin Sprung. I'm not going to throw it out. I can see why it didn't make the regular album for everybody, but yeah, for us, we had it, and I don't think of it as part of the album because it's not part of the track listing we all collectively talk about, but when I pick up my physical copy, we did have it, so I'm glad. Was it Sprung? And then we also got Secret Love, I think, because we had that released as like a B-side on Get Your Number and Shake It Off were released as a double A side. I think that we had a CD single that was Get Your Number, Shake It Off, and then the third track was, I think, Secret Love. So we had them over here in the UK, which is really weird. It's really weird that sometimes like we'll get a track that you guys don't. I understand the whole Japan thing; it's like a different like market, but over here in the UK, apparently we love a bonus track. So those were the 3 song choices. Guys, let us know in the comment section if you're watching on YouTube, or get involved over on Instagram. Let us know what you would do with those 3 songs. Luke, thank you so much for joining me today. It has been such a pleasure. And yeah, if you ever need a lamb in your life to geek out with, you know where I am.
Oh, thank you. And to anyone else watching, I am sorely in need of lamb friends. My friends held a funeral for my obsession with Mariah Carey, which I found really inappropriate. But they basically told me that they set a boundary on how often I'm allowed to talk about her. So I've got a lot to say. Just DM me.
So let's remind the children where they can find you. Where can they connect with you online, Luke?
Instagram, it's at Mr._Luke Anderson. And then if you want to follow my weird drug soda, it's at Drinkcann, DRINKCANN. I'm trying to keep sending some to Mariah. I want to work with her on a campaign, and here's to manifesting that.
Exactly, put that out there into the universe. Well, you heard it here, guys. Luke is looking for lamb friends, so yeah, slide into the DMs and yeah, geek out. Luke, thank you so much once again. Guys, we're going to continue chatting for a little bit longer over on the after show. So those of you who are members of my YouTube channel, you can catch even more of Luke over there. So Luke, I'll see you in the after show.
See you there.